This is the Field of 68. I'm Vince Wolfram.
I'm Jojo Cavanagh in Auburn, Alabama. And this
is Straight Out the Jungle. The Field of 68 has made its way to Birmingham, Alabama for SEC Media Days. We are very excited to be here. For Vince Wolfram,
Jojo Cavanagh, we are here with Field of 68's Terrence Oglesby, former professional basketball player, played also at Clemson in the ACC. So we are very excited to have him join us. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You guys actually gave me the gold chair, so that's good too. No, I'm excited for you guys. Happy that you're on the Field of 68. I think that's a good thing for both of you. I think it's a good thing for Auburn fans. We get more basketball exposure. I feel like football's kind of up and down, but Bruce has got Auburn going. So, and then you guys get to help generate some of that excitement for the Jungle. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, in the Jungle, the energy level breaks the stadium pulse every single time. They've got a great year on the way. A lot of new pieces, though. Sure. Tahad Pettiford, Ja'Kai Howard headlining the recruiting class coming in. From those two guys specifically, Tahad the guard and Ja'Kai, he's a small forward shooting guard, 2'3". What do you think those guys, their biggest impact will be on the floor for Auburn this year?
I think Ja'Kai's biggest impact is going to be his athleticism. I don't know if you guys have seen him play in person. I saw him at
We've seen him at practice.
Over the last few seasons. We're talking a chin at the rim type athlete, really good wingspan. But when he was at OT, he really worked on some of the other aspects of his game, the skill part, right? And he's always been this spectacular athlete. The rest of his game's needed to catch up. It's starting to do just that. I think he's going to be a good shooter by the time his college career is done. He needs to be patient because that part is still a significant part of everything, especially when you play in SEC play, just because there's a lot of older pieces, a lot of older players. He's going to have to adapt. He's going to have to shoot the ball well. If he's able to do that, sky's the limit for that young man. As far as Tahad's concerned, electric with the ball in his hands. You want to think about recent guards underneath Bruce Pearl, whether it's Jared Harper, whether it's some of these other lightning quick guards that he's had throughout his college coaching profession, not just at Auburn, but at Tennessee too. Small guards that can create, that can really score. Pettiford's kind of in that mold. When I saw him play at the Peach Jam, he was playing alongside Elliot Cadeau for North Carolina, and it took him a second to get comfortable. Cadeau reclasses, Pettiford takes advantage, turns into a top 30 player. So good on him for finding his niche and what he's supposed to be doing. And I think he's the perfect fit for what Bruce Pearl really likes in a lead guard that can score and also be quick enough to get into the lane to converge that defense and spray out to all the shooters that they have.
I'm going to move over to a transfer. We were talking about him before, Miles Kelly. You said before you think he's being underrated. So what are your thoughts on Miles Kelly?
Man.
Yeah, how he's going to look under a Bruce Pearl's offense?
I think the first thing I think about is not necessarily the offense. I think about the defensive portion because everything when you play Auburn, you're up in the passing lanes, you're physical, you're at the point of attack up towards half court. That's going to be a big thing for him because he was averaging 32, 34 minutes. You guys are on the numbers better than I am.
32.
He's right at 32 minutes. So as a result, you can't play defense that long at the same type of tempo and pace that Bruce Pearl wants them to do. So that's going to be an adjustment. Is he in good enough shape? But you look at some of the intangible things, 6'5", 6'6", long wingspan, can really shoot the basketball, is already known to be a big-time scorer at Georgia Tech. Now he's in a different system that's going to play a little bit faster than what Damon Stoudemire did last season with the Yellow Jackets. So I love that fit. A lot of people are talking about J.P. Pegues. A lot of people are talking about some of these other pieces. J.P. is going to be good. I think Miles Kelly could be in that 15 to 17 point per game range just because of the way that Auburn likes to play in the offense and how he's going to fit as far as spacing the floor and the ability to create his own looks.
Yeah, and I think that 32 minutes per game stat is something interesting, especially coming into a system like Bruce's where he plays 10 guys for double-digit minutes per game.
Sure.
So that will be a change for a guy like Miles Kelly coming in as the leading scorer at Georgia Tech, 32 minutes a game. Bruce talked to us about Jabari Smith, even when he was in Bruce's system. He played 28 minutes a game, but it would vary game to game. From a player perspective, because you were a player.
Sure. Not a very good defensive player, for what it's
regardless.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah.
That minute change and the rhythm of the game with a coach like Bruce in the system that he plays, where he likes to play those guys for that certain amount of time, how does that impact a player like Miles Kelly?
Well, I played in a very similar system when I played at Clemson. We were pressing the whole time. It was a 1-2, 1-1. We were flying up and down. Our highest minute guy was up around 26 minutes per game. And the reason for that is you can't play pressure defense at that rate for 30 minutes. It makes it incredibly difficult unless you're just one of these otherworldly athletes, which, let's be honest.
You were. Let's go.
Not me. However, some of the other guys, I think Tahad Pettiford could be that guy. Ja'Kai Howard's that kind of athlete if he's going to exert himself out that far. It makes it very difficult, though, because you're having to compete on that end at the level that you're accustomed to, that Bruce is accustomed to, and then you're also having to be productive on the offensive end. And sometimes those things go hand in hand. Yeah. It's hard for those things, that type of pressure, to go for 30 to 35 minutes. It makes it really difficult to be efficient on the offensive end as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it to the backcourt. So we're seeing Bruce Pearl talk about this trio: Denver Jones, JP Pegues, and Tahad Pettiford. Who do you see kind of coming in and possibly being the starter, or who do you see as the player that Bruce is going to say, like he mentioned at his press conference, the quarterback always gets the ball. He wants the point guard to always get the ball. So who do you see as that guy for Bruce Pearl this season?
It's going to be between, I think it's going to be more of a 2-point guard role. I love what Denver's able to do. Obviously, we'd be right at 9 points a game, correct? He's going to be the table setter, right? Where that's going to allow a guy like JP Pegues to have these explosive nights of 15 to 20-point nights. I think JP, he averaged 18 points a game last year at Furman. That's going to be a little high, significant step up in competition since the Southern Conference. 10 to 12 points a game, but he'll have some of those 15 to 20s where he gets really hot and shoots the ball well. Denver Jones, need him the table setter because Pettiford's a lightning rod. JP's a guy that can get hot in a hurry. Who's going to be the guy that settles everybody down, especially when you're playing at some of these environments on the road in the SEC, when you're playing at the Swamp, when you're going and playing at Arbitrary School, Tennessee, which is so difficult to play against and play at Thompson Boling. I think Denver could be the settle-down guy, very talented. Those other two, I love their roles within the type of structure and offense that Bruce likes to run. But that backcourt, I mean, there's going to be some explosive nights. I'm very curious to see how long Pettiford takes to really get comfortable because that is a lightning rod score.
Yeah, he and Denver, I think, will be an interesting combo because Pettiford came in and Bruce said he thought it would be a wing player that he would use because of his athleticism, his ability to play make, where Denver has taken on more of this one, primarily a point guard, one role, and a two. Exactly, a bigger guard, which I wanted to see what you thought about this too, because Bruce's typical point guard is a short, scrappy, defensive-minded guard. You look at Zep Jasper. You look at Trey Donaldson.
Wendell Green.
You look at Wendell Green.
I would say Trey Donaldson's big on the little bit on the bigger side.
He is. Right? Played DB, committed to Auburn, played DB too.
Sure.
So guys like that. Denver, Coach Pearl said, is a guy that you cannot sleep on and is one of the most competitive defenders on this team. Do you think he makes a difference more on defense than he will on offense?
What you see with Bruce is the pressure defense and trying to create offense through their defense, and then in the half court they're trying to space you out and attack off the bounce. Now they run some stuff as far as flex screens and skip passes and up screens. You can go on and on, but like as far as defensively, I like Denver because he's walking around here. It's not a small fella.
No.
So he's walking around. He's going to be able to switch some of those things. They're going to be able to stay out in the passing lanes when teams try to run their offense. He can be. I wouldn't venture to say that JP, if he's determined to be a point of attack defender, I'm not sure that he is. I think Denver's the guy defensively that can really do some of those things just because of the size and the physicality that he could bring to opposing guards.
Yeah, I think it'll be a different guy for Bruce to coach, too, with his size and his ability to defend.
Yeah, thinking of size and ability, Denver Jones is here. Janai Broome is also here. People are calling him one of the best bigs to return in not only the SEC, all of college basketball. What do you think about him returning for another year under Bruce Pearl? How do you think his presence in this Auburn team is going to impact Auburn to be able to advance farther than the first round of NCAA tournament?
Yeah, he's an unorthodox beast, isn't he? I think that's the best way to put it. Very leg. But 16, 10, couple blocks, passing the ball well, shot some threes last year. I didn't see that coming. I don't know if you guys.
And he said even more this year.
Yeah, he said even more coming.
No, I mean, that's good. And that just spaces out the floor even more. That's a positive, especially for some of these guards we've talked about, right? Everything's outside in now. It used to be the other way around. So the way Janai's been able to play and open up his game, did a couple of games whenever he was at Morehead State before he transferred to Auburn. There was nothing outside of 15 feet. So you talk about the growth and development of a player who sticks around. He knows what he's good at, but he's added on some of these pieces to his game. I have him as a second-team All-American. I know a lot of people that's got him right on that fringe, maybe that fifth one, first-team All-American. He's in for a big season. But as you guys know, 18 teams in the SEC, and there's a different big every night, and it's a different kind of big. I think we talked about him being a little bit unorthodox. I think that helps him in a league like the SEC because there's so many jumping jacks in the league. So he keeps people off balance. He's physically strong. He's got broad shoulders. He can finish a number of different ways. I'm a fan, and it's hard not to be a fan with a guy like that just because of his all-around ability and the fact that he's continued to expand his range in his game.
Yeah, and that versatility is something that LSU coach McMahon talked about today. His old coach at Morehead State, actually, because he had seen him in his early days, had recruited him to Morehead State, and now has seen the progression that he's made, both on offense and defense. But something Bruce has touched on over the last couple of seasons, Auburn fans have been pushing it as well, and it's a question they hope to answer this season is...
Why do you have Oglesby on your pod after picking against the Eagle or the War Eagle for
I was going to go a little late for that one, but
we're going to wait for that one. Okay, yeah, sorry.
But something that they've hoped for is you look at the teams in the Final Four last year, UConn, Alabama, NC State, and Purdue, all teams that played two bigs simultaneously.
Ooh.
If you look at Auburn, they're primarily a four-guard, maybe that four-man is a 6'8" stretch like a Chad Baker-Mazara or a Jalen Williams, but not a true big man. In a spot where Janai could maybe step in and play the four, how much more effective do you think that would make the Auburn offense with the depth that they had this year? Dylan Cardwell, Chaney Johnson, Jaheim Hudson, guys like that to back that system up.
I think, the modern game, everybody's spaced out and you want a four-man who can shoot it just because it provides ample spacing for your guards whenever they get in there because as a 6'2" guy, or at least I claim to be one day, once you get in there, if there's two people in there, it makes it really difficult to make any decisions because there's so many hands and length and athleticism. I love it because you can also bring some guys in there that are going to mix it up physically. So over the course of 30-something games, and you're in the dog days of the season, mid-February, when shots aren't falling, Miles Kelly's having an off game, JP Pegues is having an off game. To hell with it, we're just going to beat you up. I think the fact that you can throw so much size at those 4 and 5 spots and energy at different points to ignite a game, which is what Bruce has been good at his entire career, that's what makes it interesting as far as going big. But you talked about UConn. They would play two bigs at times, but a lot of times it was Caravan and Clayton. NC State had DJ Burns, but a lot of times it was a lot of guards on the outside. You want to function with more space. Where I think it's a great point by you is the fact that you can change the rhythm of the game and how it's played. If you need to muck it up a little bit, you're playing at Mississippi State and you're having a hard time getting out of the gates in Starkville, we need to get some dirty buckets. And when I say dirty, I don't mean playing dirty. I mean some hard-nosed buckets, offensive rebounds, something like that. Then you kick out the threes and you find other ways to establish a rhythm. That's how you can do some of those things with some of those two big lineups that you referred to.
I'm going to bring it to a player we haven't really talked that much about yet. Well, Janai Broome was named preseason All-SEC first team. Sure. Chad Baker-Mazara was preseason All-SEC third team. What do you think about him coming in year 2 on the Plains after playing at a JUCO, San Diego State? He was ejected a few minutes into the first round and against Yale. What do you think about him coming in, trying to overcome that, prove himself again after being named for the first time ever to a preseason All-SEC team?
Well, first of all, a really good player. Second of all, he gets ejected coming from a guy that got ejected in the NCAA tournament.
Okay, wow.
I did. I got ejected in, 2009. To come back, to be able to kind of reestablish what you're doing, to let people know, like, that was a one-off, that was a mistake. I'm still going to maintain my competitive edge. And obviously, you're picked third team all-league. Like, you're grinded up, ready to go after an offseason where he's had some motivation all offseason long to really kind of chip away. And they're going to need all that motivation they can get because, guys, I'm trying to pick holes in the SEC schedule. What might be an easy game, what might not be an easy game. Even Vanderbilt, who was picked dead last, I believe. LSU, Vanderbilt, last two.
Last one.
Both teams have talent.
Yep.
And so you got to have different guys step out. Baker-Mazara, he's going to have really good games. I think the point that just hit me right now as we're sitting here talking, the number of weapons that this team has, where JP Pegues can go off and have a 20-point game. Hot Pettifer can come off the bench early in the season, have a 15 to 20-point game to really ignite things. Like, Janai Broome's your constant. Who's going to be your constant in the backcourt? That's kind of my thought process moving into the season for Auburn.
Taking a couple steps back, looking at the conference as a whole, everyone's saying this is the most parity that the conference has seen in a long time since last year, because they say that every single year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Looking at the conference as a whole, who's a team that you think might be a little slept on coming into the 24-25 season that could maybe surprise some people.
I think Ole Miss is very much going to be in the running as far as Sean Padula comes in from Virginia Tech. He's a playmaking guard. I've been a fan of Matthew Morrell for the past 3 to 4 years, and Chris Beard in year 2. Come on. Like, what are we talking about? A guy can really coach hoop. They're going to play hard defensively. I think Matthew Morrell, he reminds me a lot of Jody Meeks, who played at Kentucky once upon a time.
It's a great one.
One of my good friends, Jody Meeks, about 6'5", strong body, defends really well. They've got weapons, and they've got a lot of transfers too. I think Ole Miss is a team, outside of Auburn, of course, let's be honest, outside of Auburn, that could surprise some people and be in the top 3 or 4 of this conference by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, so using Ole Miss top 3 or 4, Alabama was picked to finish top of the SEC.
Sure.
Auburn finished second. What are your thoughts on Alabama's team this year? Mark Sears coming back for his final year. Nate Oates coming out of their first Final Four ever. What do you think about this Alabama team and how Auburn can match up against
And a
them?
guy who made a decision that no Auburn fan thought he could, Aiden Holloway, went from Auburn
I
out.
thought we weren't going to mention his
Nope,
name.
I had to throw it in.
I didn't think you were allowed to mention his name.
There we
We're
go.
not.
It's in there.
I thought it was
Straight out the jungle. I just let it straight out.
I thought it was high treason to talk about.
It is treason.
The depth also screams for them. And I think where you look at the backcourt for Auburn, and Denver Jones is a good player, Mark Jones is the best point guard in college basketball.
They were in the Final Four for
They were in the Final Four, and he was the reason.
Yeah.
So you look at some of the additions in the offseason. Cliff Amourier is probably the best rim protector in college basketball with his athleticism. I think he has a little bit more skill than Rutgers allowed him to exhibit in the Big Ten over the last couple of years. He's going to fit the SEC much better than he did the Big Ten. So I'm excited to see how that goes. Chris Youngblood coming back in January is obviously going to be a big one. But just the sheer depth of all those guys and how many players they pick that aren't just good players, but they're good system fits. And Nate Oates has always been a guy, as far as percentages are concerned, he's really deep in the analytics, the size, the switchability, and now the rim protection is going to change things a lot for this team. And Nelson, guys, I felt like it took him half a season to really understand what he was truly capable of. Because a lot of times you make a jump from the Summit League to the SEC, there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment per period. I think end of January, he finally figured out, like, hey, I'm a bad man. I can continue to play like I did back in the Dakotas and then continue to kind of find different ways to impact this game. I think Alabama's in the front running for the national championship. I think Kansas is right there. It's going to be a great college basketball season. And keep in mind, too, I've always made this point over the last couple of years, but the COVID year's done after this season. The guys that really recruit high school well are going to come back to the forefront. And if I'm an Auburn fan, that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Because the state of Georgia almost belongs to Bruce Pearl. He goes and takes who he wants. And the power's going to go back to the freshmen, but we have one more year of a lot of old dudes playing ball for colleges. And I think it's going to, you talk about the parity within the league, it's parity around the country. I think that is the most fun part of our job this year, is we get to see so much good hoop. And but going back to the freshmen next year, which will be interesting enough.
Yeah, one team I want to touch on before we go here is Kentucky. You said program fit, and they got a guy this summer
Love all of them.
that is a perfect program fit in Mark Pope. He came and talked today. I loved hearing him talk.
It was the first time I ever heard him talk, and I was blown away.
So passionate about his team. Has a lot of new guys.
Yeah, I think they're all
into.
New. I think they're all new. I think, did they even bring back anybody? I think everybody left.
Yeah.
Cal left.
What do you think about that team heading forward?
I'm a Doster fan to all those guys are going to kill me when they hear me say it again, but I feel like I say it all the time. I'm a big puzzle piece guy.
Yeah.
Like, how do the pieces fit all together? Lamont Butler hasn't been, he's here today. He's a two-time Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. That dude's a lockdown dude at the point of attack for opposing point guards. So difficult to defend against. Hits one of the greatest shots in Final Four history a couple of years ago. Like, seasoned veteran, really knows how to play, understands the offense that Popes likes to run, because they do some similar things under Dutch at San Diego State that he does now. They have Kirk Kriisa, who seems like the world's forgotten about after a year in Virginia, West Virginia. It's like, these guys are really, really good. And throw in the fact that I feel like Jackson Robinson's on pace to explode. All those guys together, the momentum's back. There was nothing like, guys, though there's two things. Calipari goes from almost the most hated person in Kentucky to now Kentucky fans feel jilted that he left them. So you guys tell me how that works. That's one. The other thing is they've gone the complete opposite way, because for so many years you get all these talented 5-star freshmen, and now they're going all older guys. And offensively, night and day, to where Cal like to open it up, play 2 bigs, look for lobs, let guys create. There's going to be a lot of zoom action, a lot of 5 out, a lot of down screens, a lot of motion, dribble handoffs.
And a lot of threes.
A lot of threes, a lot of different ways to score. They're going to have a 5-man that could do it. Big fan of Andrew Carr, too, transferred from Wake Forest. How are they going to be able to settle in all together in a system under Mark Pope that takes some time to learn? So while they will be very good in November, they'll be extremely good early January. So I'm on the Kentucky train right now. I feel like those pieces fit. Is there a superstar? Not right now, but Jackson Robinson could be that guy.
Okay. Last question before we go. It can be quick.
Yeah.
Pick your winner of the 2024-25 SEC tournament.
Oh, man. That's just so tough.
I know. Putting it on.
Dark horse. I'll go Ole Miss. Dark horse. I think if I had to pick another dark horse, it would be Auburn.
Okay.
So
But I'm going to go Alabama because, I mean, everybody's got it ranked in the country right now. This is an Auburn pod. You guys put me on the spot. I blame you.
Hey.
I blame you.
It was good answers.
Nah, well,
it was good answers.
I think Auburn's a dark horse because we talked about it earlier. So many different guys that can give you 20 on a given night. To me, that's incredibly encouraging. But I think the consistency from what we've seen from Mark Sears and some of those guys, that kind of puts them over the edge.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. No longer welcome in the jungle.
Awesome. Well, this has been the Straight Out the Jungle pod with Terrence Oglesby in Birmingham, Alabama for SEC Media Days. Make sure you guys follow him. We're going to put his links in the description and keep up with us as the season begins. Terrence, thank you for your time. T.O., you're the man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy that you guys are part of the family. Feel the 68 people right here.
Can't wait to see you again soon. And for you guys, stay tuned. Got a lot coming. So
yes. Be sure to like, comment, and most definitely subscribe.
You know the deal. From Birmingham, I'm Vince.
Jojo.
Terrence.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.